It's very complicated to know where to start because for many people they look at the crisis as one that started with the uprising in Syria a few years ago. For many, including myself, I can trace it back to the US intervention in Iraq that started exactly 25 years ago this month. AFSC has marked the 25th anniversary of the Iraq intervention a couple of weeks ago. And I think many of the dynamics that were introduced to the region can be traced back to the US military intervention in Iraq back in January of 1991. The destruction of Iraq's infrastructure and central government, and the introduction of sectarian politics in the region. I know many people who go back even farther by tracking the Syrian government's own role in creating divisions, whether they were sectarian or ethnic, in Lebanon during the Lebanese civil war. But I think that might be a stretch. If we look at things that have been happening in the last few decades, there is definitely a role that Syrians and Iraqis and others in the region have played in creating the root causes for what happened. There is definitely a role for the US and other international powers, including Russia, in creating it. So when we look at it, now we're talking about half the Syrian population being displaced, around 10 or 11 million out of Syria's 22 million citizens have been displaced. The majority of them are inside the country, but there are a few million Syrians who fled the nation and crossed the international border. They are refugees. So it's not, when you look at it, it's not a crisis that was created by a natural disaster. This is a crisis created by politics, by military interventions, and it's a crisis that should be solved by looking back at the root causes of this crisis, not by trying to fix it by dropping more bombs or justifying more interventions.